Welcome to the PrimeSpan Podcast, where we talk about aging, mental health, and living well in the years that matters the most. Each week, we cut through the noise to focus on what actually helps you feel clearer, steadier, and more in control as you age. If you're navigating the second half of life or thinking ahead, you're in the right place. Let's get into it.
For most modern history, every generation lived longer than the one before it. Better medicine, better sanitation, better nutrition, and safer jobs. Life expectancy keep rising. Because of that, many people assume that each new generation will automatically live longer. But researchers are now asking a different question. Not whether people will suddenly live shorter lives, but whether the steady increase in life expectancy we expected may be slowing, and whether modern lifestyle may be creating new healthy risks that medicine alone cannot fix. Today, we're talking about generational gaps in health, lifespan, and lifestyle, and how we can still change the outcome. Welcome to PrimeSpan Podcast, Ali, Cass. This is an exciting episode. We're going to talk a little bit about some generational conversation, but I have a first question for both of you. When you hear that life expectancy gains may be slowing down, what do you think about that? Or here's the follow-up question to that. Do you think that people today seems healthier or more stressed?
I think there's a shift happening. I think that people are more aware of what healthy means now. It's not just solely focused on like a healthy weight. I think, and that's kind of been the whole premise of the past, to be at a healthy weight. But now I think people are more educated and understand it's not just about being at a healthy weight, but what are you putting into your body? And I think that the younger generation is really driving that more so right now. It's hard to say like if we're more stressed or if we're like healthier, because I think we're just still in this shifting stage right now.
Alison, what do you think?
Yeah, I needed a little time to ponder your question. I think that people are prioritizing their health more. I agree with that. And that comes with putting boundaries on their stress, like for work, and knowing where and what they want to prioritize, just, younger generations. I also think for me currently in a different generation, a different stage of life, I'm able to look at it differently now that, I didn't really pay attention to it much when I was younger. So now being in this phase of, and this age of life and this age stage, there's a different focus. But I do think that people are putting more emphasis on their health and managing stress and prioritizing what they want in life and using their, time off, taking time for themselves. And
So here's a question for both of you, because the episode today, as you know, is there's a big shift. I'm curious when we're talking about younger, because statistically, the boomers are living a little bit longer. Some of them are very healthy, actually. When you look at the boomers, they're entering this retirement stage at a very healthy levels, because they're one of the healthiest group of people, because the exercise revolution, the diet revolution, they're all there. But the study is showing that millennials, which is us, are very unhealthy. And what I think what Kassandra's saying and what we're all saying is the younger, which is the younger people than us, and sound like older person talking here. The younger person than us focuses on relaxations and everything. But the millennials are, based on current research and studies, are very unhealthy. That they will, if you put them side to side, that the millennials will actually die younger than a boomer if you put them side by side. And my question to you is, do you think modern life makes easier to be healthier or harder for millennials especially?
I think because we're right, millennials are right in that shift or in that space of knowing what life was like before majority of modern technology, all the technological advances that have happened over the last couple of decades. Now getting to a point in life where you are recognizing a better balance, and do I really need to go to these lengths for my career? Is the cost, of my health worth it? Or the balance of my routine worth it? So I can understand that we're probably right now, or we haven't set ourselves up to live longer, which is also a little bit frustrating. Because like the technology, when it came out, it was really cool and we got, pulled into it, and now we're recognizing we got to kind of step away from it and get back to how things used to be. It's, it's not fair.
Well, do you think that modern life makes health easier or harder, especially for millennials? And because with what I'm trying to compare here is the boomers that are, if you look at boomers, by the way, a good amount of boomers, and I'm noticing this a lot more, boomers looks like 40s, 50s, and they look good. Some of the boomers that you'll see like 70s, they look like 50s. While you see millennials that are 40s, they look like 60s. And it's terrible to sound like when I say that, but this is why we're having this conversation today. There's this health crisis that's going on in this group of people. Now, the generations after the millennials are a little bit different. To Cassandra's point earlier, they're the one who prioritizes relaxation and all of those. There's nothing wrong with it, but it's actually they realize what's good. But so, question back to you: what's modern life done to us?
I think we talked about this in a previous episode about the hustle and everything. I mean, modern life has made us do things faster and more efficient, to pack more in our day, I think.
Well, let me do a little bit of a data trend here. Here's some data points that I was looking at. For most of the 20th century, life expectancy increased with every generation, okay? But in the last 2 decades, that increase has slowed in the United States specifically. Researchers have noticed that some younger generations are developing chronic diseases earlier than expected. There's a good amount of higher rates of obesity, high risk of diabetes, more sedentary lifestyle, sleep problems, and more stress-related conditions. And some studies shows that people born more recently may have worse health at the same age compared to earlier generation. And so it's quite alarming. I was listening to a podcast, Joe Rogan podcast, actually, with HHS Robert Kennedy. And he said that the ability of younger generation enrolling to the military has even dropped its ability because of the health of the younger people in the US. The argument here is you shouldn't have that problem right now because we're producing more food, we're producing more, there's a lot more technology, there's a lot more access to everything, but yet the younger generation, as he said, is very unhealthy compared to the older generation that are retiring.
Thinking about the baby boomer generation, them growing up, there wasn't really a lot of TV watching probably, right? I think that generation too were told go play outside and come back when the sun comes down, or I'll call you when dinner, right? So that was the push, and knowing I'm not going to be at home lying in my bed when my parents come, because you need to be up and moving around and doing things, being productive with your day, whether it's a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, or Saturday, Sunday. And I think that with the millennial generation, some of those, I know in my family, that was definitely You get up, you go to school Monday to Friday, you come home, you do your homework. Once that's done, maybe you watch TV and then you go to bed. And on the weekends, it was like no sleeping in, watch TV for maybe an hour in the morning, and then you're up and you're doing something. Not everyone maybe grew up that way, like in the millennial households. But I know now, looking at kids and people that I know and bringing screens, to entertain or keep the kids busy at restaurants, or just so that way you can maybe do housework or cook or whatever. Like, you're not promoting movement at an early age, and you're creating these bad habits and routines that are going to be very difficult for these 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-year-olds to break, because this is what they're used to and all that they know. So that I can see how the research, I can see that happening in life, day to day. So it's just a cycle. And I think the younger kids right now that are below 10, aren't being set up for success in that way, in terms of like movement and being curious and getting out. And maybe the food's better, right? Because parents are more conscious of that. But in terms of just like the other healthspan pillars, that's not being implemented.
Well, think about it. Thank goodness that this whole food pyramid switch recently.
Right.
I mean, that is at least something that we can count on, that is going to help people flip the switch, because we are so embedded with ultra processed food for the longest time. Is that like that's part of the they associate that why people are sicker.
I mean, cereal was a go-to in elementary and middle school for us, and not because, we just didn't have time. So it was just like, here, have cereal. Had my mom or had known what they know now, that probably wouldn't have been it. But, again, that's no fault to them.
And you think about the generation, the boomers, during their time, as you're saying, they during their time, physical activity is everything. Like walking is part of it. Everywhere they go, they walked.
Riding their bikes, playing outside, whatever it was, helping in the yard.
Screen time. Right now, screen time is everyone. And back then, less screen time. You didn't have a screen time. Depression was not a lot back then.
Well, and the other thing too is, like, back then with the baby boomers, you typically just had one car. Maybe two, but majority just one car. So if kids or someone wanted to go somewhere, you were riding your bike or you were walking, to your point. And now, like, a household could have like 4 or 5 cars.
And so you have less outdoor time because of that. And you know how important that outdoor time is. This episode is really depressing when it comes to our health for us millennials. However, it's true. It's we're looking at there's a huge decline of health after the boomers. And the boomers, like what we're saying, is like that one, they got that really well. Ali, what are your thoughts?
I'm trying to reflect on the boomers that I know. I shared in previous episodes that I lost some family members that are in that generation recently due to not caring for their health, because they had no knowledge on what was important and what to prioritize. But there are several that I know that really take exercising and eating healthy very seriously. So it's kind of mixed from what I am thinking about. When I think about my own parents, we're able to make changes now. And when you keep talking about the millennials and this kind of being a depressing time, I'm just thinking I can move forward knowing what we know now and try to make changes now, because it's not too late.
Thank you for reminding us about that, Ali, that we still have time to make changes that will, make a big impact.
I'll bring a little positivity back.
Well, yeah. I have a question for both of you here. What do you think are the biggest myths about longevity that people assume?
Maybe that in order to invest in your longevity, you need to have your financial status needs to be a little bit higher, or it takes money, a lot of money, to be healthy. And I think that that's not necessarily true. that there's things still within your grasp that you can, be healthy. I just saw this video and I posted it like last night because this little girl was watching this like marathon and she's telling her mom, people are paying to run a marathon on the road and it's free to run. Why are they paying to do that? And that's true. Like, you can go outside and go for a walk. You can go running. You can invest, maybe $100 into maybe weights or something, at home, or even less than that. There's so many options like on Facebook Marketplace or OfferUp or places like that where you can, get some, gently used exercise equipment. And I think in terms of I think there's also a myth around like eating healthy is more expensive. And I think to a certain degree that might be true depending on how big your household is. But I think that there's ways to still be savvy with that, or make some changes. Maybe you can't, overhaul your whole kitchen and pantry, but maybe there's some things that you can do, like, with like fruits and vegetables, adding more of those, into your meals, which it's really not that different than what you're buying in the, in the middle aisles, honestly. So for me, I think it's just like those two that you have to have like a plethora of money to be able to invest in your longevity.
I agree with you, Kaz. I actually just had a conversation with someone about healthy foods, and they said, well, it's expensive to have healthy foods. I just had a conversation with someone about that. My thought is a myth around longevity is your own genetics. If it's like in your own family, well, my family, for example, if your family has diabetes or heart disease or big health challenges that, there's nothing I can do. It's going to happen to me. And I don't, what am I going to do to take care of it? That no matter what I do, it's going to happen,
Which is one of the worst thing you can do. You have a full control of those genetic makeup, and you can turn it on, turn it off. But if you just don't do anything about it, it's worse. I want to add something here. There's still a good amount of people that think that they could just biohack their way into being healthy, like shortcuts. And sometimes, that works to start something, but you cannot biohack something on a regular basis, like hacking things on a regular basis. That doesn't work. The consistency is what's important, and that's what's gonna change your whole body, your whole routine, your whole health. It's not about just hacking one portion of it. And there's a lot of people think that it's always a hack. As a culture, that's what we're attracted to. A hack, one pill approach, one silver bullet approach. And it's such a huge myth that because of the what's being sold in the media, and that it's sexy, it's glam, it's cool to think about it. It's, you hack your way into this, or you hack your health. But the reality, it's such a myth that's going to be sustainable. And most of those hacks are not even scientifically based, and so there's no backing. I always ask everybody on a podcast about confession. What modern habit hurts your health the most?
I don't DoorDash often, but I think it's a habit that's convenience. You could just get food delivered and made. I also know there's a lot of food delivery prep services as well. I mean, it's probably a good option if you need a prepared food versus getting a fast food.
Yeah, I think from like 2019 to 2023, like DoorDash was or Uber Eats, like that was just not helpful. I think also COVID, that's like a modern technology I'm going to throw in here. That would mess us all up completely, or mess me up completely. But I think I probably have to agree with Allie. I think for the longest time, just like convenience of just stopping, like grab and go eating over the last several years has probably been the most harmful, I would say. And being like having your phone and being able to do everything with your phone.
I'm on the ping right away,
Yeah.
The evening time. Our teams are active in the evening time, and that's like it's a convenience, but it's also such a health thing.
It is, yeah, because like you don't have to go to the store. You don't have to, like, people used to have to go to the store to pick up like a birthday gift, or pick up just necessities, and you don't have to do that. I mean, you can even just order it and go pick it up too, and I think that's all limiting your movement. You don't have to go out and get your food. You don't have to go out and see the doctor. Like, there's just all these things that, which is can be great for some people, if it's used appropriately, but I think we just don't use it appropriately anymore. And I think a lot of people are recognizing that and starting to rewind.
Not unless you're using PrimeSpan app, it's different. PrimeSpan app, if you use it, is very different.
It's very different, and it's only meant to take up a small part of your day. So
not even 20 minutes of your day, you're set. We really study that part to make sure that you don't get hooked to your phone.
I have a thought. This is not necessarily our work culture that we've had, but if people are working from home, they're not going to the office and they're not moving around as much. I think that could be a modern habit that could hurt your health. Because I think, if you're in an office, you have to commute there, go to the office. And if you're going to meetings, you're walking around or going to someone else's office, you're able to move more and have a routine in your day that way. But with maybe a working from home type of day, you're a lot more sedentary and not moving. You're moving from one room to the other or something. So that came to my mind.
And the socialization piece, Allie, with that too. That's right aligned with that. Not connecting with people, and that's such a big piece as well for longevity.
Yeah, a few more. You lose so many things when you are. I mean, there's benefits, of course, some, but when you're just at home, you don't get the sun. You don't get, not unless you do things intentionally. Again, you have to be intentional. That's what we're trying to say here. But if you are not intentional with routine, it's going to be very dangerous for anybody. One last question here before I think we're bringing some reality here. But what is that one small step that we can do to change what's unhealthy? When you think about habits that we could change, what would be your top habit that you would advise our co-millennials to be healthy? I mean, this is probably one of our best moment to share our knowledge here at PrimeSpan, especially for the millennials that may be listening to the podcast.
Years ago, I was sharing with you that I was feeling like a little like out of sorts and kind of gloomy and kind of like a little depressed. This was like, I don't know how many years ago, but it was years ago. And you had said, are you getting sunlight? And like, that's always stuck with me. And I think that complement what I was saying earlier about like longevity. Like, you don't have to have a lot of money. I think we just take for granted like how healing sunshine and light is. So I think that if you are needing to do like one simple thing to add into your routine is just to get outside and get sun for 5-10 minutes each day, because it really does. It's crazy to think how much of an impact it has on just on your day and your health. So that would be my advice or recommendation for people.
I like that one. That's a good one. I'll take it.
You need it for the vitamin D, Allie.
Yeah, I shared earlier that my vitamin D is low, and I probably have to get that checked again soon, which you have to do a blood test. So for me, one small, a top habit to change, two of them came to mind that I've been trying. One of them is the habit was to do some meal prep so that I can avoid the convenience again. So I intentionally prepare my meals on the weekend so that I can have a nice, healthy, substantial dinner. That was my meal I needed to work on. So that was something I have been doing consistently. But it takes effort. It takes time to plan what you want to have. And then I'm able to, eat vegetables and incorporate a variety in my one meal. And the second one is to schedule things in advance. So my one example is, it's hard for me to work out every day. That's my pillar that I've shared that I've worked on. But if I schedule that one class I want to do in the week, it's helpful for me. Or, just kind of like booking that time already for whatever that is. If it's a social opportunity or going to work out, that has helped me as a habit, just aiming for one time in the week versus trying to overwhelm myself and I say I need to go 3 times a week.
Keeping your movement, you don't have to do extremes, but if you can do an exercise and not let that go, 20 minutes, 30 minutes a day is all you need really to get that going. It's just gonna be helpful for you. Uh, I say I'm in line with you. It kinda, and I repeat it. I think I say this all the time. It can outweigh so many things. Some of the things that you're not able to do if you do exercise has a lot of protective agencies that can outweigh so many bad stuff in your body. So I'm with you, Ali. Can you share how people can? We have a lot of things happening in our in the PrimeSpan uh, community, and we have a lot of things coming up for the campaigns. And how can people find us? We have a lot of agendas coming up. Can you share to our listeners what are those, and how can they find us?
Thank you. Yes, we're looking to expand our community and bring more awareness to helping people live healthier and longer, and some of the advice we just shared tonight. So join us at our Facebook community group to stay up with what we're sharing with the public about PrimeSpan. Also follow us on all social media platforms: Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, and also on Substack and YouTube. So all of the platforms, we have our content shared there. Our upcoming campaigns, we have something that's really exciting for us to share is our youth-led campaign, which is called Future Needs You, with our hashtag Be Here for My Future. We really focus on this as a campaign out of love, really, for our own family members and our youth sharing that we want our families around for as long as we can keep them. And our core offerings at PrimeSpan, we have our coaching. We call it Build Coaching. So that is our membership opportunity for people to have more support going through this and taking the next steps to live a longer, healthier life. So looking forward to have our certified and trained coaches use their expertise to help our members take that next step with support and guidance with PrimeSpan.
Thank you, Ali. Well, before we close this episode, I'd like to give everybody a chance to have final thoughts. Before we close it, Cass, anything you want to share? Anything you want to add before we close it?
Final thoughts are I'm just gonna echo what Ali was sharing about our build coaches. We have some really great experienced coaches that are just as much proud of the mission that we have and just as much, believe in the mission of PrimeSpan, and they want to help as many people as possible. There's availability Sunday to Saturday for anyone who is interested. And they come with their own set of tools and experience as well, on top of what they've learned with us at PrimeSpan. So I definitely think that there's a lot of value for what you're paying with the coaches that we have.
Yeah, I was just kind of reflecting on the theme of our episode here. You had some notes earlier about longevity not being automatic and that it really does take a conscious effort. And I think without PrimeSpan and the phase we're in now and trying to share that with our loved ones, that I probably wouldn't be putting this as a priority. So our mission really is to help people live a healthier life and live a good life. It's just such it's a personal mission, I think, for all of us. Who doesn't want to live healthier and better and feel better? So, just by focusing on our 5 pillars, I've really looked at my life differently now, personally. So thank you to PrimeSpan for helping me start now. Or I think we've always had bits and pieces. I've always had bits and pieces of it put in a full package here.
You put it well, really well. You really packaged that well together. And if this episode made you think differently about aging, for those of you that are listening, that's why we did this podcast episode. I hope you find our programs helpful. I hope you find our coaching and community at PrimeSpan helpful for just to be healthy, age successfully, live better and longer. We encourage people that listening on our podcast to explore that. Also, just increase your knowledge about longevity and being healthy overall, and you could pass that along to many more people. Until next time, thanks for listening, everyone. Till the next episode. Bye for now.
Thank you for spending time with us. If today's conversation gave you clarity or steadiness, take that with you. We release new episodes weekly. Follow the PrimeSpan Podcast on Apple Podcasts so you don't miss what's next. Until next time, take care of yourself and keep living well.